It's 2025, and Venezuela has just gone through another highly disputed election. Nicolás Maduro remains in power, now entering what would effectively be his third term. The US government has declared the vote illegitimate, and many nations across Latin America and Europe agree. But this time, the situation feels more dangerous than usual. Back in late 2023, Washington briefly eased oil sanctions after Maduro promised freer elections in 2024. That promise never fully materialized. By April 2024, the U.S. reinstated sweeping oil sanctions and later revoked Chevron's special operating license. Today, almost all of the original maximum pressure sanctions are back in full force. Right now, the USS Gerald R carrier strike group is positioned in the Caribbean. That means destroyers, submarines, surveillance aircraft, and dozens of fighter jets are already within striking distance, hours away, not weeks. Over the past few months, the U.S. has already carried out nearly 19 precision strikes from the air and sea, mostly targeting smuggling operations and networks. Several Venezuelan-linked targets, which Washington says are tied directly to Maduro's system, were also hit. The message is unmistakable. If this turns into a war, the United States is already in position. So now we're asking a very real question. What if the United States actually attacked Venezuela? This isn't a fictional scenario. Every outcome discussed here is based on real deployments, real military doctrine, and real political decisions already unfolding. Venezuela is treating this moment as the opening phase of a foreign assault. Air defense systems are activated, coastal radar is running non-stop, troops have been moved toward key strategic locations, and officials have publicly warned that any aggression will be answered. All it would take is one trigger: a drone shot down, a missile landing too close to a base, an airstrike hitting the wrong target, or a naval vessel firing in self-defense. Any of these could ignite escalation overnight. Once that spark happens, Washington faces a choice: step back and de-escalate, or push forward toward decisive confrontation. And once that line is crossed, there are only a few realistic ways this could unfold. Scenario 1: limited strikes only. This is the smallest and most contained form of conflict. In this version, the U.S. does not invade Venezuela and does not attempt to overthrow Maduro. Instead, it targets cartel-linked infrastructure the same way it has targeted ISIS and transnational criminal groups in the past. These strikes would focus on remote airstrips, jungle camps, safe houses, and small naval vessels used for trafficking. Drones and cruise missiles do all the work, no ground forces. This isn't theoretical. These networks already appear in U.S. indictments. Multiple high-ranking officials in Maduro's government have been formally charged in American courts with narco-trafficking and money laundering. Washington could legally frame these operations as counter-narcotic strikes. No invasion, no occupation, just precision attacks and a warning to stop. But even that limited approach wouldn't go unanswered. Maduro wouldn't stay silent. Venezuela still operates a small number of Su-30 jets and aging F-16s. They would launch. Anti-air teams armed with Igla missiles could target low-flying drones and aircraft. State media would erupt with war propaganda. And retaliation could come through drone attacks on U.S. ships, cyber operations, or the use of refugee pressure against neighboring countries. Limited strikes might calm the situation, or they might ignite something far larger, because once the U.S. commits force, it must be prepared to go all the way. Scenario 2: full air and naval campaign. Now imagine escalation continues. A U.S. ship takes damage, a drone strike injures or kills American sailors. Congress demands action. The Pentagon responds. The mission shifts from attacking smuggling networks to dismantling Venezuela's military itself. In the first 48 to 72 hours, U.S. forces strike key strategic and military targets across the country. S-300 long-range air defense systems, surface-to-air missile batteries, air bases housing Su-30s and older F-16s, radar stations and command centers, naval bases and missile boats, oil export terminals, the financial lifeline of the regime. On paper, Venezuela's military looks formidable. In reality, it is severely degraded. Many fighter jets are grounded due to lack of spare parts, pilot training is limited. Even the S-300 systems, dangerous at first, rapidly lose effectiveness once their radar and communications are jammed. Venezuela might shoot down a drone or damage a ship, but the overall outcome is predictable. Within days, its conventional military power collapses. That's when Plan 200 begins. This is Maduro's real defense against a foreign invasion. The strategy is simple: abandon conventional warfare and shift to guerrilla tactics. Sabotage highway systems, attack power stations, hide militias inside crowded urban neighborhoods, turn the entire country into a prolonged war of attrition. Even without U.S. troops entering the country, the conflict becomes frozen. Airstrikes continue, infrastructure deteriorates, oil markets panic, thousands of civilians flee into neighboring nations. Maduro broadcasts non-stop speeches about resisting imperialism. The tanks are gone, but the political war drags on. Scenario 3. Limited ground invasion. This is the most serious and dangerous option. Suppose airstrikes fail to stabilize the situation. Venezuelan drones continue harassing U.S. ships, oil exports are disrupted globally. The U.S. administration decides it needs physical control of key areas. Puerto La Cruz for its oil terminals, the massive refinery complex near Punto Fijo, or the deep-water ports around Maracaibo. U.S. Marines land with armored vehicles and artillery. They secure the infrastructure and establish defensive perimeters. The objective isn't occupation, it's leverage. On day 1, it works. Venezuelan forces aren't equipped to stop a modern amphibious assault. Many surrender. But once night falls, everything changes. Plan 200 activates again. Regime-backed colectivos emerge, armed gangs move through city streets, drone attacks intensify, power substations and pipelines are destroyed, poor neighborhoods become battle zones. What was meant to be a short operation slowly turns into a classic insurgency, one air power alone cannot defeat. A 2-week mission begins to look like a 2-year nightmare. Oil prices surge worldwide, millions are displaced. Then the outside players move in. Russia helped design and train Venezuela's air defense network. Advisors are still present, but with the war in Ukraine, Moscow can't send troops. Instead, it provides intelligence, propaganda, and portable air defense weapons. China has billions invested in Venezuelan oil, but will not send soldiers. Beijing fights through diplomacy, economic pressure, and cyber influence, not with boots on the ground. Iran is different. It has already supplied Venezuela with military drones like the Mahajer 6 and could send more. It might even retaliate indirectly, not in Venezuela, but through proxy attacks against U.S. positions in Iraq, Syria, or the Red Sea. And then there's Cuba, Maduro's quiet shield. Cuban intelligence helps protect his inner circle, operate surveillance, and suppress internal dissent. They don't fight publicly, but they keep the system functioning behind the scenes. In South America, Guyana would likely support the U.S. openly and might even allow limited military access. Colombia would quietly cooperate. Brazil would condemn the violence, call for peace, secure its borders, and prepare for a flood of refugees. Which brings us to the final question. Who wins? Militarily, the United States wins every time. Its carriers, submarines, drones, and cyber weapons can dismantle Venezuela's armed forces in days. But that's not the point. Maduro knows he can't defeat the U.S. directly, so he isn't trying to. His goal is survival through chaos, sabotage, and insurgency, to make the cost of war unbearable. And that's the real danger. Attacking Venezuela would be easy. Defeating Venezuela would not. Right now, both sides understand this. If you want to see what happens when China and Russia invade the United States, click the video on your screen now. Thanks for watching.